This is the M14 furniture sheeter. The control box on this unit, the way it's set up, it'll hold 8 different preset links. And to activate those links, you've got preset 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you flip this switch, if the switch is on the left, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. If you flip this switch back to the right, then you've got presets 5, 6, 7, and 8. And you've got a little controller here, an MTA interface, and you can go up or down with these arrow keys, and that'll take you to the different preset links, and you can see what each preset is set at. On this one, you've got preset 3 is set for 156, preset 4 is set for 30 inches, you go all the way down to preset 8. And the only other thing on this interface, other than the 8 preset links that you can change, is a batch count. And in this case, the batch count is set at 15, but you can also change this batch to whatever you want just by hitting the plus or minus key. And once you've got a number displayed on the screen, that's the number that's in memory. You don't have an enter key or anything like that. A couple of the other things you want to look at, this on-off switch and the control cabinet that you've got may be a little bit different. All these are set up a little bit different, but they have the same switches on them. This switch is just an on-off switch, and the only purpose it has is a thermal protection for the motor. So the only thing this switch controls is the motor. And if the motor happened to overload or overheat, this switch just trips. And to reset it, you just push down on it and it'll reset. But this switch can stay on at all times. All it's doing is sending power to the motor. This, of course, is your main power switch, on-off switch. This is a manual cut feed switch, where if you want a random size, you can just manually feed it, manually cut, and that'll give you, random links if there's an oddball size that they want to run. And we have some customers that's the only switch they use. They don't even use the preset links. They just run everything out randomly using that 3-position switch. There's a photo eye, and the way the photo eye works, if you cut the photo eye on, now let's come up here and we'll pick a small size so we don't waste a lot of material. Let's go back up to preset 4. We'll set preset 4 down to about 12 inches. Okay, so now we've got preset 4, which is going to be this one, set for 12 inches, and we've got the photo on. And so what that's going to do, we hit the button, that gives us a 12-inch sheet. When we pull this 12-inch sheet away, it automatically feeds another 12-inch sheet. And with the photo on, that's the way it's going to work. It's just going to keep feeding sheets out as soon as you pull them away. And the way this machine works, it'll actually hold the sheet of material in there until you pull it away after it cuts. The other feature is if you want to use that batch count where you just want to run off a certain number of sheets and then let the machine stop itself, you have to have the photo on and you have to have the batch on. And now when you hit a button, it's going to run off that many pieces automatically until it gets to that preset number of sheets, which in this case I think the batch was set for 12. So it's going to run off 12 sheets and it's going to stop. I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. I don't want to waste all this material, but so that's the way the batch feature works. And for the batch to work, you have to have the batch on and the photo on. Now, if the customer just wants to hit the button every time, if they're using a lot of different links and they're not using the same link sheet over and over again, the way most of them will set it up is just have batch off, photo off, and then they just hit whichever preset link they want. The machine dispenses that, cuts it, and then just waits for the operator to pull it away. The other item on this machine, there's 3 things that'll cut all the power and all the air off to the machine. You can cut the power off here, and you can hear the air dump out of the system when you cut it off. Lifting the hood up, there's a little limit switch under here that'll also cut the machine off when the hood's up. And then there's an E-stop here, which will cut all the power off the machine and also the air. When the power is cut off the machine, all the air is dumped from the system except for the air going to this valve, and this valve and it's not always located here. Sometimes it's located closer to the top, on the top of the frame. But what this air valve does, it lifts and lowers the nip rolls. And what that's for is for loading the machine, or if the machine jams up, you can lift that upper roller up, and it just gives you access to the machine and makes it a little bit easier to get in there. And you can see when that roller's up, this is the material, and that material is just coming straight through here when you're loading it. So you want to put it just through that opening, and once you get it out the front of the machine, you close that roller back down, the rollers come together, and now it's ready to feed. The cutting mechanism, all it is two standard Stanley utility blades. This is a carriage that actually travels back and forth, cuts the material. If you see the blades, here are the blades up under here. These are two Stanley, I don't know what the number is, but this is standard box cutter blade. There's two, you know, one for cutting left, one for cutting right. And the only thing that holds those blades in there, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but down here at the very bottom, it's not this, it's not the big cap screw I've got my finger on. There's actually a smaller screw under it. That blade slides into a groove, and then there's just a set screw that holds the blade against this aluminum block, and that's what secures it. But there's a little guide in here for that blade to fall into, and then you just tighten that set screw down to secure the blade. And that's the way the blades should look like when they're in there. They should just about touch points, and you know, be it, you know, 45-degree angle more or less. That's what it should look like when they're in there. Let me see if I can cycle this, show you what that blade's actually doing. So I don't know if that helps or not, but that's kind of the all that blade is doing. It's just traveling back and forth on this band cylinder, making the cut. As far as loading the machine, some of these machines will have one of these idle bars in the back. Some of them will have 2 or 3. There's really no, for the ones that have 3, I normally load it like this. I bring the foam off over the top of the roll, come under this first bar, under this bar, and then just back through that gap to load it up. And you can kind of see, I don't know if you can tell by this video or not, but once you open that top roller up with the air valve, you'll have a straight shot through there, which you feed the material. And what I do, you know, I just tell the customer, make sure you've got the machine cut off before you have your hands, you know, around here getting ready to load it up. But once you push that material through the back, just go around to the front, grab it, and kind of get it nice and tight. Put the roller back down on it, and then you're good to go. For the rollers that just have one of these idle bars, and a lot of them will just have one idle bar here, right in front of this pan where the material goes through. You just go under this one and then back through the machine. But it seems like most of the machines seem to work better. You can go over, or you can go under with this web, or over, depending on which way you load the roll. But it seems like the rolls run better if the material's coming off top and then going back up under that one of these idle bars here in the front. There's also on this machine has an idle bar on the bottom, but normally I just bypass this one, because a lot of times if you put it on that one, then you're putting too much friction on the roll, and it doesn't want to come through there. It kind of puts too much pressure on it. The rolls don't want to pull it through there. It'll start to slip, and you'll get inaccurate lengths on the sheeter. Well, like I say, when you're loading the machine up, if you're pulling that material through for the first time, you just grab that material, pull it out the front, get all the wrinkles out, close the roller back up, and you're good to go. As far as any safety training, I tell them when you load the machine up, I cut it off here and cut off here just to make sure, you know, that the machine's cut off. and that way the blade can't go back and forth. You don't have any power on the machine. This machine, some of these machines will have a different gearbox. This machine has a blue shaft through gearbox, which the shaft just comes all the way through the gearbox. And these are the newer units. If you see this blue one, this is just a newer unit. A lot of them had an older Boston style or Boston gear type gearbox. This unit has a brake motor. It just has a brake and back the motor, which stops it instantly when the power is removed from the machine. Some of these machines have an encoder, and you can see the encoder wheel up under here. That's what's actually giving the machine the length. It's sending pulses to the PLC, and it's where you get your length measurement from. Some of these units have this type encoder. Some of them don't even have an encoder. They're just working off a timed output. I'm not sure what the one